There we go.
And action.
Take two. All right. Tonight we'll continue our annual meeting, part two. From the last one we did a couple months ago. These were our plan to be monthly and hope to be monthly. But so your full-time income and revenue target plan. So tonight we're going to go over here in part two, defining your full-time income, calculate what your real money revenue needs to be. Because without that, we're just throwing things in the wall and hope they stick. So we need to know what your true revenue number needs to be. It's different for everybody. Turn it into trays then. So we'll break that down and turn it into trays. And then we're going to set your personal timeline. Everybody's personal timeline is different. Some people could be next month and some people could be 2 years. It could be whatever. It's your personal timeline. So we will define that individually and help you guys out. Identify what's blocking you. We'll revisit the confidence, clarity, system gaps, holding you back for most growers get held back and everything. The outcome is building a real plan for you. All right, so let's get into some specifics. That word's always hard. Speech Club did not help me out that well, so this isn't just motivation, it's math. Part one, we face the truth about where our business is. Now we're going to build a plan to go full-time for those who want to, or whatever that is for you. You could use this plan as part-time as well, whatever you need. Let's define what full-time means, or what them numbers mean that you need. When I say full-time, that's just whatever your revenue target is. So step one, we're going to define what full-time means for you. As you can see the little graph over here at the side as well, but everybody's number is different. You need to know your number. So my number could be 5,000. Somebody's could be 1,000. It could be 10,000. You know, depends on what your number is that you need. So we need to figure that out. Figure out what you need. So how much do you want to take home each month? So what do you want after all your expenses as well? You need to know that number. So what do you need to live, right? What's your monthly expenses at your household? What do you need? What do you need from a job? What are your monthly business expenses? Because you got to take that number out as well, right? You got these business expenses. You need more seeds. You need water. You need power. You need all that stuff. You need delivery, vehicle, whatever you need. So then we can add 25% also for taxes, because you can't forget the lovely person who comes every year and got their handouts called the government and wants their money, right? So you got to make sure you're figuring that in. This can vary depending on what your setup is, from a C Corp, S Corp, LLC, sole proprietorship. That is a big ranging number of difference in whether you're paying yourself a salary or you're just doing it as self-employed and taking money from the business. That could be a wide ranging different number. So that's the reason why we need to do this. You need to do this on your personal plane as well as being here as a group. So your income goal plus business expenses plus taxes, that is going to EQ your gross revenue goal. So that's the overarching goal, how much money you need to make in the business to do that. And don't forget about your salary in there as well. So we can turn this number down and break it down into simple forms, right? And break it down into trays. When you do this number, I want to caution you, don't do it on your highest revenue tray. What you want to do is figure out what your yields are for every tray that you're producing on an average on a weekly basis. What are you doing? What's the yield for that? If you're selling everything like we do, pretty much at the same price. So everything is at wholesale is $1.82 an ounce. That's what we sell everything for. So we can take $1.82 an ounce times whatever total yields we're selling per week, what we need every week, and then divide that by how many trays we're doing, and that's our average tray. There's different ways of doing it, but that's the way we do it to figure out what our average tray is. That's supposed to say $30 on it, by the way, not $20. So type that wrong. So if you're doing $30 a tray, maybe just the other way, 30 at the end there, not the beginning. So if you had $20 a tray and you needed 63 trays to get that $5,000, right? $25, 50 trays, $30, 42 trays. That's what you need to do and break it down and see how many trays you actually need to make your revenue go. Once you got that number whatever that, say you're at 50 trays, but to make your revenue go, you need another 50 trays. These are maths you got to work with, right? So, but you need to know that overarching number and make sure you're staying above that at all times. Is if it's always 200 trays, say that you need to make sure you're making well over that, because you will have people fall off occasionally. Home deliveries, if you're doing that, definitely will fall off. Sometimes grocery stores, not many times that happens. Usually restaurants stay with you. If you have farmers market season, you don't want to calculate this in as your farmers market season and that's your high end number, because that's going to hurt when it comes winter, right? So want it to be on your lowest average week, and that will help you make sure you never go below that. Now, what changes your price is your price per tray is the lever. Adjust it before doubling your workload. You don't need to maybe over double your workload. Maybe, you're figuring out that price per tray. You don't need 300 trays. You may need 100 trays, depending on what you can get per tray. Step 3, set your target and timeline. Timeline is important here as well. Now that you know your numbers, you're going to lock them in. All right, let's lock them in, what your number is. Check that off. You know what that is once we go through this exercise. What's my monthly revenue goal? You got to answer that question. These are questions you need to answer. What is your monthly revenue goal? How many trays a week do you need? So you're going to figure that out based off of that. When do I want to hit that number? So when do you want to hit that number by? Is it 6 months? Is it a year? Is it 2 months? Whatever it is, what does that go by? So example is, I want to hit $3,600 a month by December 1st. And to do that, I need to sell at $30 a tray, 30 trays a week. That's what you need to sell. A goal without a date is just a wish. It's just a hope. We don't need a hope. We need to make sure we have numbers. Commit it, write it down, and share it. I'm going to employ all you guys. I'm going to have a post that I'm going to do, that I'm going to have in there in the community. I employ you guys to put numbers in there if you do want to share. If you don't want to share publicly on the post, I'm going to have you send them to me, so I can hold you accountable as a coach would. If you really want to make this what you want to make it money wise, whatever it is, if it's full-time, part-time, you're going to make a side income, all of it still counts. All of it still works for this, right? It's all just numbers. We just talk about full-time here. So either way, I'm going to have a post. Feel welcome to put the post in there. Have everybody else hold you accountable, because as a community, that's what we can do the most with and help everybody out. Or if you want to send it to me personally, and then I can help hold you accountable. Works much better if it's a community, but I also understand. So step 4, what is standing in your way? Typically, it's a revenue clarity gap. You're just not sure how much you actually need, right? That's why, talked about your revenue goal here. You don't even know what you need. That's usually what a lot of people, especially when you first get into this business, you don't really know what you need. So we need to make sure we change that. Confidence gap. Unclear on your pricing, pitch, or marketing. Most of the time, it's the pitch for people and our marketing. Price, usually we can get that pretty quick, and you got that down, but pitching, going out talking to people, marketing for some people is the biggest challenge usually. So if you got all three, that's when you're going to really make rockin' business. And I know some people have all that three and don't have a problem talking to people. I don't have a problem talking marketing. Marketing is probably the biggest one. Most people, I would say, number one. I would do these in reverse, 1, 2, and 3 backwards there. System gaps. You're still doing everything yourself. So no batching, no backups, which, you don't really, you want to have, by backups, I mean having enough to fulfill the orders. You're not trying to get it right on the tray, because, occasionally things are going to fail, right? Broccoli may yield 9.5 ounces this week instead of 10, and you did it perfectly right on, and now you're short an order. And then that's going to make that customer upset, especially if it's one that counts on to have that product. So you don't want to make sure you have a little bit extra to make sure you can fulfill the orders. It really doesn't cost that much, right? So before we move forward, take a moment to look inward in yourself and your business, and answer these in the chat if you guys would like. Which of these gaps is slowing you down? Is it a revenue clarity gap? Is it a confidence gap? Are you avoiding reaching out to people? Are you underpriced? Do you know if you're underpriced? I do see that occasionally people are underpriced. Or do you have a system gap? Which one of these do you think is your biggest challenge? Knowing this is your biggest gap is the first step to closing it. Nobody? Nobody want to share? Silence. Everybody's perfect. You guys are awesome. Rocking it. We've taught you all so well.
Okay, I'll chime in.
Okay. Go, Royce.
Mine is not the confidence. It's I guess the systems.
Okay.
I am a party of two, actually. I've got a business partner. So I've semi got things to where it's divided, but the business itself, it's still going to be reliant on me as an individual without the systems in place.
Yes. And it generally is going to be that in the beginning, but you got to start thinking like you are. You already got somebody helping you. So what happens if Royce breaks his leg? You know, would that business still be able to keep going? Is there something written down, some system, something where somebody else could step in and know what to do, right? That's the biggest thing I think in the beginning for system gaps is we're just working, right? You're making sure you're getting the orders out, you're making sure you're getting the trays cut, you're making sure you're getting all the stuff done and everything else. But if somebody else needed to walk into the business and take over for a moment for you, which happened to me, I was down for a month, right? But we had things set up well where one of the kids was able to step in and help out because they knew what they were doing. So it was written down. It was a system. It was there. So in the beginning, system gaps would be something like that, right, Royce? Where you got somebody helping you, would they be able to take up your slack if you weren't able to do it for a week?
And that's some of the things we're working on. Right now, I am the grower.
Yeah.
And still trying to dial in processes. You know, your grow sheets or your spreadsheet helps tremendously.
Awesome.
By far helps tremendously. The grow alongs, phenomenal. You know, my biggest seller right now, who would have guessed it, is basil.
Yeah.
Grow along.
Nice.
You know, so but again, like you said, if something happened to me tomorrow, I don't have it written down, which is something I'm trying to work on. That's my goal for summer, is to write down the processes so someone else can step in and take care of it for me, or in my stead if I want to take a vacation or whatever. Yeah. And again, like I said before, dial in the grow processes. Exactly how much am I watering, you know, give or take, how much time I leave under a dome, whatever the case may be.
Yes, all the little things like that you just know off the top of your head, but if somebody has to step in, they wouldn't, right? So yes, and some people do want to take vacations, so that's also important there because you know if you do take a vacation and you're gone a week, even 5 days, you know sometimes a lot of this stuff you're going to be 2 to 3 weeks behind now, right? Where you're not going to make a delivery because you have to start all over again, growing if you're the only one doing it. So always something to think about with that. Cindy, you put in clarity on revenue gap. That's always, to me, was always the challenge at the beginning because you're just working and you know what that is. So, and Hammy, same thing, revenue gap and confidence gap. Yep. Confidence gap and system gaps are a challenge for Pat. Awesome. Not awesome, but it's good to know where you guys are at. Thank you for sharing. So a little bit over, you know, confidence gap seems to be, you know, the answer for 2 out of 3 here, and the system gap, and then revenue clarity. So a little bit of everything, which is good because that means you guys are all at different points, which is awesome. and we can help each other too if somebody's gotten through that as well. Glenn, between confidence and system gaps. Yep. Awesome. Okay, cool. All right. So we will work on that, and we will put a post up, and we'll have you guys send us stuff too. So, so now that you've maybe not yet, but you're going to do the math. We're going to do the math. We're going to figure out what that number is. It's going to be time at that point to commit to your numbers that you share. So I want you guys, I can't help you if I don't know where you're at, right? So at least share with me what revenue gap you guys have, where you're at with revenue and all your numbers and everything else, so I can help you, and Jess as well, obviously. So I'm going to make a post. It's going to be titled "Your Full-Time Revenue Target." Put stuff in there. If it's personal, obviously I understand, and we can work on it. But the more we can help each other, the better. So you're going to put in there what your monthly revenue goal is, how many trades per week that would be, and a target date to hit that. This is the accountability part. So we can work on that. You'll never know who you inspire if you put it out there. And even you can put more, like we started at this date, we're here already at this number. So somebody who's just starting can see how fast they can get somewhere. That is awesome. You never know who you're going to inspire, right? So we all walk similar paths. And if you can help somebody walk a path a little faster, the better. That's why I'm here. So yeah, definitely do that. At least share with me, like I said. In part 3 next month, we're going to build your weekly systems to be able to hit these numbers consistently. So that's what hopefully you guys share within the next week or 2 with me. And I'll ask this question: would a spreadsheet to do all this help you guys better? I can make one and send it to you, so then you can fill it in and I can see it, and we can help out with that as well. But that's up to you. Or if you just want to make it post, I'm cool with that as well. But definitely want to make sure we are helping you guys hit these targets and build this full-time income, or get you to the higher number. If it is full-time income for you already, and this is all you're doing, well, what's the next level? Let's get there. If you're just starting out, what's the level to get you to take less hours, or to be able to hire somebody to help you out to grow, whatever it is. Everybody's goals are going to be slightly different, but my goal is to get you to wherever your goal is in your time frame. Alrighty. Presentation over. Comments, questions, answers. Anybody want to talk about what their goals are, where they're at? We can do it here as well. Or if you got any questions on it. Nobody? Nothing? Any other questions, comments?
I think you got them all thinking pretty good.
Yeah. So what do you think is the best? What would be the first thing to try to what's the word I'm looking for? To give to somebody else to do. Yeah, we've got somebody watching our trays, but
Yeah.
delegate, that's the word.
Yeah. What are the first tasks to delegate? Well,
yeah,
I would say you are on the first one for sure. Give tray worship to somebody, right?
right. We did that.
Just there's 3 people in the waiting room. Are you on still? Oh, they're all bots. Okay. Yes. So that would be the first thing I think most people would say to do is tray washing, to give that away. And then I think the second would be, maybe first, would be watering and teaching them how to water. Because you can never step away if somebody doesn't know how to water.
Can you say that one more time, please, Mike?
We got it.
For Bill to hear.
I'm in the other room. I can't hear.
What? Didn't hear it. Because without that task, you can't walk away.
Right.
You can't take a day or two or a weekend or anything like that, right?
Right.
So that would be the biggest thing I would think, hindering people from doing other things and going for a weekend or going on vacation or whatever it is.
Hmm. Okay. Do you guys have anybody that can water besides Jess?
Me?
Okay.
No, not really. I mean, we got a very part-time one. He's kind of more full-time at this point, but he could do it if we actually took the time to train and everything else. But, we're not planning on walking away, taking time off or anything yet. Um, what we're actually going to be doing is building self-watering, right? So automatic
Mhm.
watering. So that's
Right.
what I was also going to say. It's either hire somebody to do that or you go to self-watering.
Right.
Our goal also is to go to self-watering so we can just take non-market Saturdays and Sundays off, right?
Right.
Um, without hiring somebody. Illinois is expensive for employees, so well, it's expensive for everything. But so that's our goal, and we got the stuff. We just got to do it. But yeah, that would be the top two tasks I would delegate first. If I would go back and do it all over again, and we had a third person that started with us or started shortly after we started making money, I would definitely teach them watering.
Uh-huh. Okay. All right. That's good to know. Hmm.
And then planting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Because you could take
that's
like
not too
6 days off and not even and be back for harvesting,
bad. Mm-hmm.
but they're going to need
Right.
to plant and they're going to need to water and clean
Right.
trays during that time frame. So that'd be 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to put this out there for the group that we are going to find somebody who can water and plant because we're going to be our hands are going to be forced to do it come August 1st. Our son gets married, so I think this we've got to have a couple of days off. So
Yeah.
it's gonna it's both of those are going to have to be covered while we're gone.
So that's a goal, right? You got a
Mhm.
target.
Yep.
And you got a time frame that it has to be done by,
Right.
and you got so it's measurable. It's a smart
Mhm.
goal.
Mhm.
So, but I also would highly recommend to make sure that's done before you're leaving, so you can monitor it without watering.
Mm,
You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So you
Mhm.
give it a few weeks ahead, hopefully.
Right.
So you can
Yes.
actually monitor and make sure that they're watering correctly and everything else. And you're not actually doing it, but you're side by side, right?
Right. Yes. Yes, definitely.
Because you could walk away and you think they're perfect. They got it down. You showed them they did it 1 week. It was good, and then you get back and everything's dead.
Yeah, that'd be bad.
Because they freaked out and they weren't confident, and then they overwatered or underwatered, or
Mm.
underwater would be better, but they overwatered and everything damped it off and died. Worst case scenario.
Right. Right. Okay. All right. That's yeah.
So I mean, you
That's-
could, how I always train employees is you train them, you think they're good, and then you let them do it, but you go behind them and verify it's done right.
Mhm.
So after they would get done watering, you let them water. If you think they're good, you let them water. Then you go back and check it, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And then you can correct anything that immediately before it gets too bad.
Right. Right. Okay. That's good.
But yeah, congratulations on getting somebody that could water. You think you got so.
Yeah, I think she will work out. Okay. But we do need to, yeah, we do need to do some training, some more training.
Yep.
Yeah, which will be good. Yeah.
And
It's
one of the
funny, I
most
think
valuable things
watering
you
is,
can do training.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bill.
I was just saying, you think watering is just watering until you have to show somebody how to do it. And it's like, oh wait, it is a little different for each plant sometimes. And is it heavy or are they light or heavy today? There's more
Each tray,
thought to it.
right? This broccoli could be different to this broccoli today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
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 And you tell them, hey, you water for 10 count, and then they're going to water for 10 count every time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And that tray was really heavy, and they shouldn't have watered it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you can't be mad at them when they mess up because you didn't tell them.
Yeah.
I mean, you can, but you really should be mad at yourself at that point if you didn't train them right. This is
Mhm.
coming from experience of running, restaurants.
Right. Oh yeah.
I
Mm.
forgot to let Jessica back in.
Whoops. Could be the doghouse now.
Yeah,
Mhm.
typical. All right. Anybody else got anything?
I got a question or kind of a comment. As far as like watering,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, most of those are going to be like solid trays or whatever. I'm shooting like in the dark because I just jumped on to see I don't run a green business. But can you put markers on the inside or outside? They can say, hey, you fill it to this mark, or you can see it from the outside. I know it'll vary based on the growth of maybe where it's at, or it's a new seed. You don't want to oversaturate it. As a full grown plant, they're going to need some more water. Is that going to just, hey, you're just going to get a feel for it, and this is how much you're going to water it?
Yeah, it is definitely more of a feel thing, and knowing how each crop reacts and how heavy the trays are and all that. Yeah, it's definitely a feel thing. When you say Jessica and Bill,
Yeah, it's definitely feel more than anything. You have visual clues with looking at the soil. Does the soil look dry? Looking at the plants to see if they're growing evenly, making sure you put enough water in last time. So if you underwater 2 days in a row, you'll see like the backside isn't growing because it's completely dry back there because not enough water got back there and they drank it all up front. So things like that, those clues as to how the watering is going. You got your visual, and then you've got the weight of the tray itself. Um, Teaching them how to look at the root systems to see if the roots are turning brown because they're over drying. Just every crop is different and every stage of the crop is different as well. So like with radishes, they're thirsty, 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 thirsty. Then you hit day 7 or 8 and suddenly they don't want any.
Hmm.
Um, that's because they've hit the point of overcrowded. Like that's as big as they're really going to want to grow before they start falling. And if you continue to water them like that, you're just going to end up with a wet crop even after not watering for a day or two, even. So it's a much more delicate process than people realize. Um, Plants are picky.
No, that's good to know because I was like, hey, can you just say here, do this line on average here? I'm going to put a black marker on here. You fill it to this line.
Yeah,
wish it was that easy.
I wish.
Okay.
And even if you're using measuring cups, you could kind of do it like on a measuring cup. Say these are, you're using 2 cups for the first day and 1.5 cups for day 3 through blah, 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 or something like that. If you've got a crop dialed in that way. But even from tray to tray, that can vary too. So if one's closer to the fan just ever so slightly, it might need a little bit more than the one that's closer to the wall.
Good point. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
All right.
Curiosity, what did you guys do in the restaurant business?
I've done everything from being a dishwasher to being a director of operations over 28 years. But the last place I was at, last place I was at was Golden Corral. And I
Oh,
was
you're
the director of operations there,
you're managing owner too.
managing owner of a restaurant. Yeah, I forgot about that one. Yeah.
There's 3 of those. Yeah.
Yeah, 3 of those. Yep. So everything.
Awesome, good to know.
Yeah. So yeah, all dinners of it. So owned them, ran them, overseen people. worked as a dishwasher, worked as a server, which I probably should have never left there, but they're the ones that make all the
Well,
money.
if you never left there, you wouldn't be here. I
That's
wouldn't
right.
be learning. And so, yeah, you did the right choice. Good job.
Good call. Good call.
So do you find that that helps as you were or still are maybe going to restaurants, talking to chefs as a segue in?
Yeah, because you kind of know what they're going through, right? You know, that they could be mad, but it's not mad at you. And you know how to handle them and how to butter them up and talk to them. Which I try to give you guys helpful tips all the time on that. But yeah, it definitely helps because you can speak their language, right? But you can learn it too. You got to be confident like Sydney and just walk through the back door with your clipboard.
That's right. Handy dandy clipboard. Never let me down.
Do you
You know,
ever get
I
a
found
sticker that
that
looks super official on that thing, so it looks like you're the health department walking in?
Say that again, Jessica.
Did you ever get your super official looking sticker so you can walk in looking like the health department and give them a little scare first?
No, I never did. Mm-mm.
you place an order, we're going to write it up.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that might work. Try that.
All right. Any other things on this or any other questions, or you know, you can also do general Q&A if you guys got anything as well. I just posting the posts in the group for this. So Roxanne.
Yes, hello again. So, some questions on how to control moisture. And I know I did a couple of posts with the silica packs and whether if you use a bigger container and it's not full, whether that's inviting moisture. So I read through all of that. I know someone responded and said that they basically harvest the full tray and then refrigerate them. So I guess to chill them down and then they pack them. I don't know if that's a viable option, if it's worth trying. Have you guys tried that?
If they have moisture in them, by putting them in a cooler, and they have to be in a container, right? You can't just put them in open air. They're still
Right.
going to have moisture on them, right? It's not going to go away just because it's in a bigger container.
And then you run into the risk
I think
of if you take it out of the refrigerator, put it into a warm package in warm air, they're going to have condensation on them.
Yes,
It's like a
so. It
glass of
sounds
ice
like
water.
that make it worse.
could.
It could. It's not probably going to make it much better unless you essentially let them sit open for an extended amount of time outside of the cooler and then warm them back up.
Yeah, you just
So that's a lot of time.
So what
one of the
I'm running
tricks
into
also.
is
Go ahead.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
What I was running into, and I think I sent you two pictures, Mike. They're basically they're harvested at the same time. There's nothing different done. I think one was cantaloupe, one was some sort of mix. The cantaloupe had no evident moisture in the pack, whereas the other one had obvious moisture that was accumulated on the lid. So that's kind of a mystery to me because all the trays are harvested in the same room. They're cut at the same, I mean, at the same time, in the same time frame. They're not left out, in humid air. So I don't know what's causing that.
I would say since the cantaloupe was fine by itself, that it was probably a dry crop when you harvested it. Something of either the peas, the broccoli, the cabbage probably had some moisture in it.
So if I don't water, because I won't water. So let's say if I need to cut tomorrow, I don't water for at least 24 hours before I cut them. So I don't sit there and water them. Should I perhaps not water them for an extra day? I think that would make them flop over though. I don't know.
I would try to back it off maybe
A few
12
hours at a
hours.
time.
Yeah, at most 12 hours, so 36 hours, but probably more like 30 hours. Don't
Mhm.
water if you're having a problem with them. And if you're still having a problem with it, kind of back it off there. And you might see the edges starting to flop over. They're fine. They'll be just maybe not cut them if you're too limp. But then you're going to know your water's dialed in correctly, right? So you want to try and find how far back you need to water. So you need to start dragging it back 6 hours to 8 hours at a time. And if it's still a wet crop, still having issues, you just keep drawing it back until the crop's falling over. But I also cautious to make sure you monitor it and don't just say, okay, I watered at 32 hours and I'm not going to pay attention to it at all. You may have to come back in the morning.
Well,
If it's flopping over a little bit, you may need to give it a little bit of water because then that's too far, right? So then you
right.
back it
Yeah.
back up to like 4 hours, and so you're just going to have to keep playing with it.
Okay. So chilling before closing the packets is of no use, I guess.
Not really.
Not really. How fast
Yeah.
are you getting them in the cooler too?
I try to let them sit out for at least a half an hour with the lid open. So I don't know if I'm supposed to.
I would go ahead and
put
close the
them in-
lid. I would go ahead and close the lid.
Okay.
But leaving them
the
out for half an hour, you're fine. You're giving that stem some time to repair itself, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, but you're inviting moisture from the air to come into that package too, and land on the crops and all
Okay.
that stuff and everything else. And then now it's going to hold on to the moisture, right? Because it's like, oh no, I'm dying. Give me water.
Right.
So
you would like
Close
when
the
you guys
package.
harvest yours, when you have not 20 packs, but when you're dealing with, let's say, 100 packet that you're trying to pack up and close,
Mhm.
are you guys just like on an assembly line? Do you go as
Somewhat.
quick as you can to get the packet closed?
You don't have to be too quick with it. Jess will harvest into bins for me, and then I will grab the bin and start packing out of that bin. It's only probably out in the
Few
air for
minutes.
a few minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, and then it goes in the packages and close and goes. And we don't really have any issues with the fogging up or anything. Now you're going to see some initial fogging sometimes when you go into the cooler, right? Because it's a different temperature, so you're going to see it initially. But give it a little bit, it might die off, it might clear itself up, right?
Right.
So anytime you're taking something that was in a warm environment, because these crops have never been cold, and you move it into a cold environment, they might fog up a little bit. That's a lot from the package you showed me. That seems like a lot from this view, but
Yeah. It's,
you could have
yeah.
some condensation just because of the temperature difference.
yeah,
For
that's
visual
definitely
aid,
the
I was going to show you. This is our lunch, so don't mind the half
That's our lunch
harvested
cart.
stuff. So like these were watered yesterday. This one's a little bit too wet to even think about harvesting. You can kind of see the soil's really dark. This one
Mhm.
I watered a little less because I wanted to be able to try to eat them for dinner today. So you can see that he's starting to flop over a little bit, and that's fine. And I can see this corner is completely dry. There's a little bit of flopping. They're still crisp. That's
Yeah.
perfect.
That's a
To
perfect
me,
time to
that's
harvest.
perfect. I can
Okay.
hold it right here, cut underneath, and it's great because I know the soil is dry. There's no moisture going to escape from that. They're starting to flop over. There's no moisture in the middle. If this is like the day before harvest and I'm like, oh crud, they're still moist in the middle, but this is flopping, I can do like this and I can water right along the edge. Give them a little
Oh,
sip on the
okay.
edge. That way the middle stays out of the water because you still have moisture in the middle. But I want that edge nice and moist because it needs to last another 12 hours or something like that. I pop in the night before and I look and I'm like, oh shoot, this guy's already starting to fall. I can go, okay, let me water a little bit of this. And by next morning, this is still good and that didn't get watered.
Okay.
So there's a master class in watering and teaching somebody how to water, Bill.
Yeah, that's pretty intricate.
Thank you.
Yep.
You're welcome.
Hey, Jess, you still water every day though, right? You don't.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Have you
Yeah,
guys ever
almost everything's
tried? You ever tried every other day?
Um, it would be doable like right at the beginning if you brought them out of germination and you gave them a drink. Um, I tried that once, but I found like 3 mold spots out of all of my trays, which to me is unacceptable. Just because the amount of moisture in them, even for that extra day. Because we tried that to see if maybe it would be a feasible thing to bring them out of germination on Monday, give them a really, really good drink Monday, and then I wouldn't have to water on Tuesdays. But that was not a good attempt because they seemed like they kept too much moisture. We did that 2 weeks in a row, and both times there were about 3 spots in random crops that just had too much moisture, and they started to develop some root rot. So daily is kind of the go-to now. I think if they were in super deep trays full of soil, you could probably flood them out one time and probably never have to water them, but one more time maybe. But then you're looking at twice as much soil.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I just see people online still saying, "Well, I water every other day." I'm like, I don't know how you
Yeah,
do
they're
that.
in Florida or somewhere really wet.
That's probably definitely right. I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta
Environmentally, they're probably
environmentals, yeah.
way wetter.
Yeah.
We're in the Midwest, but that might be today, maybe tomorrow.
Yes, Jim, daily journals. I just seen that message. Sorry, I didn't see that before. Daily journaling would help out tremendously in business or in your life. You know, we probably also should be journaling. So yeah, I agree. But definitely in
Like
business,
that
knowing what you're doing.
seed leaf diary thing that just came out that I haven't gotten to look at yet.
Yeah. Seed Leaf has got a
Yeah.
diary now, so you can take notes right in Seed Leaf. You can journal right into Seed Leaf. Pat, got your hand up?
Oh, yeah. Something that I found that works really well for me for, like when corners dry out and edges dry out. I use a recycled, I think it's a ketchup bottle or something with a squirt top. And then I can really target what I want to water and then not overwater too. And that works for me. That's the
Yeah.
suggestion.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I like that. You can be more targeted then.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's a great suggestion.
Yeah.
Love that.
Ketchup bottle watering.
Fancy. I like it. That's my kind of watering. I'm like, oh, what random thing can I use for this?
Yeah, that's a good thing. Yeah, we probably should have one of them laying around.
Probably.
They also do them like clear squirt bottles that are for like sauces that you can get like at a GFS or something. You
Ooh,
could
I have one of those for popcorn.
Yeah, we could use one of
was
them.
Not
Yep.
used.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything food safe with a squirt top just
Yeah.
works. It's really good.
New item to add to the resource list.
Squirt bottle. I like it.
And then they have to ask what it's for.
Yeah. If you know, you know, just put that next to it. No description.
Speaking of water and just controlling the environment, that dehumidifier we got a couple of months ago is just fantastic.
Nice.
Awesome.
Which one did you get again?
You got the big DC. Like
Yeah.
the
Okay.
It's funny. Trying to remember the brand name at the moment off the top of my head, but yeah, it's the one
Moist
that you
Flow.
guys. Yeah, moist well that Lorena got and you guys recommended. That's
Okay.
great. The beast, but
Yeah.
man, I think it does a great job.
Yeah, and you're like, man, this thing's never going to shut off when it first starts, and then it, catches up, and like, okay, now it's just running cycles.
It gets a rest when we harvest,
Yeah.
and then it ramps back up.
It does.
And
blow
then you
up
plant
sometimes.
more and starts again.
Yeah.
That's right. Pretty much.
Gotta say, Jim, I also like your picture on the Zoom here. Tending to your garden people, maybe? Your mushroom people?
Yeah, those are the microbes in the soil.
Ah, there you go.
Ah,
So
nice.
they're my warriors. So they're my, for my garden soil, they're
Yeah.
my microbe warriors. So I'm in a war here with my plants to grow.
Nice.
Nice.
I like
And
it.
my microbes are my battlers.
You're your little army. Go do your job. All right. What else can we help with today? Or what else you guys want to talk about?
Can I ask a growing question?
Yeah.
For cantaloupe, do you use a heat mat?
Yes.
You do. Okay.
During germination, you some people leave it on for the whole cycle, but you definitely need it for the growing cycle for the germination.
Okay, thank you. I
Yeah.
was lucky enough to be able to buy 2 pounds before every place ran out.
This time of
Again.
year, they definitely run out.
Yeah.
For some reason, they're a hard one to get. Do you get the Hill's Best, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Perfect.
2 leaf, I think it was.
Okay. Yeah, they will germinate without a heat mat. We've grown them without a heat mat. They just take longer. And depending on what your heat and your environment is, we're like at 76, 75 in the grow room at all times. So that probably helps. But if you're lower on the 70 to 72 range, you're definitely going to need a heat mat. But we did grow it one time without a heat mat, and it did just fine.
Yeah. It was the wrong time, but it grew just fine.
Yeah.
And that's with weight. That's with weight on top too.
Yes.
Weight on top. I think it was 4 or 5 days. I don't remember.
5 days.
Okay.
5 days.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Nancy's been quiet over there. Hopefully, you don't need anything. Glenn, quiet.
All good. Thanks, Mike.
All right, good. Well, if nobody has anything else, again, share the stuff with me at least, or put it in the post, and help motivate other people. And let's make sure we all hit our target goals by the end of the year. You can make them longer than a year, but really yearly goals, hit stuff by the next 6 months or so. It would probably be the best kind of goals to set forth. And we can work on longer term goals as well. But let's try to make this year your best year yet and get your goals hit this year where you want to be at in your business. And we will help you every step of the way that we can. Reach out if you need anything. And if not, we will talk to you guys all later.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, Mike.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, Mike.
See ya.